We're so delighted that you're here, and hot on the heels actually of your recent briefing to the United
Mhm.
Nations Security Council on the urgency of achieving peace in Ukraine. And unfortunately, we're in a situation where the United States and NATO are escalating this
Mhm.
proxy war in Ukraine in order to, quote, weaken Russia. And what I wanted to ask you is, what does the US hope to gain from this? And exactly how dangerous is this situation for humanity that we're currently in your opinion?
Well, the only thing the US has succeeded in getting was severing ties between Europe and Russia. And European nations, being good little vassals, have gone along with it. From the moment it happened, I believe that the US blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, which provided gas from Russia to Germany. It mysteriously blew up in 2022. Last year in 2023, investigative reporter Seymour Hersh, in a 5,000-word article, detailed his evidence showing that the US had done this, which wasn't hard to believe. The only thing I find interesting is the fact that this story was buried. Seymour Hersh is a Pulitzer Prize winner, former New York Times correspondent, has all the credentials that usually give someone credibility, but this was an inconvenient story and it was, for the most part, buried. And then they came up with several scenarios of mysterious Ukrainians who had the means to blow up these pipelines. But that's been successful for the US. And of course, that was one of the goal of pulling Ukraine away from Russia, was to force Europeans to buy liquefied natural gas, fracked gas from the US, and they succeeded in doing that. Otherwise, they thought sanctions against Russia would harm that economy. Biden once said they would turn the ruble to rubble. No such thing has happened. It's damaged the rest of the world, but not Russia. They couldn't keep Russian gas and oil off of world markets. So Russia is had this, it was a setback, but their economy is doing fine. The US Secretary of Defense, in a, moment of candor, said the goal was to weaken Russia. Russia isn't weaker. There were some who wanted regime change. They wanted Vladimir Putin out of power. He's very securely in power. They wanted to weaken links between Russia and China. Their connection only grows stronger. Xi Jinping said they were better than allies. I don't know what better than an ally is, but it's an indication of how strong the link is between those two countries. So you see nothing but failure. They've harmed Ukraine. Let's talk about the damage done to Ukraine. You have thousands of people dead. It's lost approximately 20% of its territory to Russia. The Ukrainians are being press ganged. There are tons of videos of people literally being dragged off the street. The average age of their army is like 40 years old, which tells you how many young men have been killed. Their economy is supported entirely by the United States. So Ukraine has suffered. So you have this fantasy, they call it primacy, where the US has hegemony and basically controls the world economically, militarily, politically, and none of those things have happened. You've had economic disruption, death of thousands of people. So the US has failed in this effort, but only seems to double down on the failure.